Hello everybody, before we get to the video, I just want to let you all know that we are once again running a giveaway for the League of Legends Partner Program codes. This time around, we are giving away codes for the Papercraft Anivia skin as well as the exclusive Green Chroma. If you would like a chance to win one of these codes, all you have to do is leave a like on the video, drop a comment down below, and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Best of luck in the giveaway, and now let's get into the video. What's going on, Nasteey Nation? It's Nasteey, and in today's video, I'll be going over every single aspect of the champion Thresh. This guide is going to include skill order, build paths, counter picks, combos, and many more things to help take your Thresh to the next level. In case you're unaware, I've already made guides for champions such as Rakan, Nami, Brand, as well as many more champions, but if there's another champion that you'd like to see me cover, then feel free to let me know by dropping a comment down below. Also, be sure to give me a follow over on Twitch and Twitter. Links to both of those will be down in the description below. And finally, don't forget to leave a like if you do go on to enjoy the video and find the video to be helpful, but without further ado, let's get into it. Although Thresh was introduced into the game quite a few years ago and he is yet to receive any sort of change or rework, he remains to be one of the most fun yet challenging champions in all of League of Legends. He's not an easy champion to pick up by any means, but when played to his full potential, he can provide some of the strongest carry potential in the game in comparison to just about any other support champion. Thresh is a skill shot reliant tank support with a high skill cap, flexible kit, lots of crowd control, high pick potential, and above all embodies a very aggressive playstyle. Overall, Thresh is a great champion to look to pick up because once mastered, his ability to single-handedly carry games from the support role is unmatched by any other pick. First up, let's talk about Thresh's ability, starting off with his passive. Unlike other champions in the game, Thresh does not gain armor per level. Instead, he increases both his armor and his ability power through gathering nearby souls. Small minions have a slight chance to drop souls, both enemies and large monsters drop 1 soul, and epic monsters such as Baron and Dragon always drop 2 souls. Thresh can gather these souls by walking near them or casting his lantern on top of them. Thresh's Q is Death Sentence. After a brief windup, Thresh throws his scythe towards his enemy. If the ability hits a target, the cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds, the target is hooked and dragged forward, and Thresh is then given the option to reactivate the ability. Reactivating the ability will allow Thresh to then leap towards his target. This ability can be tricky to land and difficult to use correctly, but I'll go more in depth on how to properly use this ability later on in the video. Thresh's W is Dark Passage. When casted, Thresh will throw out a lantern a short distance away. This lantern will grant a shield to a nearby ally, as well as allow one ally to click on it. Clicking on the lantern will grant an additional shield and bring the ally who activated it to Thresh. This ability is most commonly used to help an ally get out of a sticky situation, but it can also be used specifically for its shield utility or for the sake of gathering souls from a longer distance. Thresh's E is Flay. This ability sweeps up enemies within a short range, either pulling them closer or pushing them away. This ability is somewhat difficult to land given its short range, but it can be quite efficient when combined with other abilities. I'll go more in depth on Thresh's combos later on in the video. Thresh's ultimate is the Box. When used, Thresh creates a prism around him. Enemies who go through the prism take damage and are slowed drastically. If used carelessly, the box can be quite useless and easy to avoid, which is why forcing your enemies into the box will often result in the largest impact. Next up, let's talk about the best max order for Thresh's abilities. The most common max order is going to be Q first, E second, and W third, with a point in your R whenever possible. But a few altercations also include the WQE max and the QWE max. According to some websites, the QWE max is actually the highest win rate, but that information is based on fewer games played, so it's not 100% accurate. The WQE max, on the other hand, is a somewhat off-meta max order that is not too common, but has been played from time to time by quite a few challenger players. This is a max order that embodies more of a defensive playstyle and typically focuses more on shielding your allies with Guardian rather than making plays with your other abilities. With all that being said though, I still would recommend the standard QEW max. It seems to be the best option more times than not, but the other options that I did mention are also worth trying out. Up next, we have the runes for Thresh. I would recommend starting in the Resolve tree with Aftershock. This is pretty much a given, unless of course you're going for the max order that I mentioned earlier, which takes Guardian. After that though, you are going to be taking Font of Life, Bone Plating, and Overgrowth. Font of Life is going to help out Thresh quite a bit whenever he is going to be able to CC a target. Bone Plating is going to allow him to not only be able to dive into teamfights and take a little bit more damage, but also it's going to help quite a bit in the early game. And Overgrowth is another thing that is going to help him tankier in the late game, again allowing him to dive into teamfights after landing hooks and be able to tank up a little bit more damage. For the secondary page, I would recommend Inspiration, starting off with Biscuit Delivery and Cosmic Insight. Biscuit Delivery is just going to allow for some more sustain, as well as increase the overall mana that Thresh is going to have, allowing him to spam abilities more often, and Cosmic Insight is just going to offer a bunch of CDR buffs that are really helpful for Thresh. As for the final 3 runes, I would recommend starting off with CDR, and for the last 2, it really just depends on what you're up against. If you're up against all AD, I would take double armor. If you're up against a lot of AP, I would recommend double magic resist, but for the most part, you can kind of just split it up, go 1 armor and 1 magic resist, and that should be good in most situations. For Thresh's build path, I would recommend starting off with the Ancient Coin. Targons used to be a very viable option, and a lot of people used to go back and forth debating which one was better between Coin and Targons, but these days I think that Coin is just a much better option. After all, if you go Targons and you are able to still last hit minions in the lane phase, even though it's very difficult, later on into the game it's going to be near impossible to get the last hits on minions. So you're not going to be getting much gold generation later on in the game, even if you are able to last hit minions in the lane phase, and that's why I think Coin is a better option overall, even though you're going to be a little bit squishier without Targons. After your support item, I would recommend getting mobility boots. Mobies is really important for Thresh because Thresh is a champion that likes to roam around the map quite a bit and try to make plays, but I'll talk about roaming later on in the video. After boots, I would recommend one of 3 items. These items are all going to be a CDR based item that give defensive stats, and what is going to allow you to choose between these 3 items is going to be the current state of the game, or rather the team comp that you're up against, because all of these items give different defensive stats. If you need something that has a little bit more magic resist, I would recommend Zeke's. If you need something that has more armor, I would recommend Knight's Vow. And if you don't need either of these and you want to go super aggressive and be a little bit more squishier but have more teamfight power, I would recommend Redemption. For your 4th item, no matter what you bought earlier, I would recommend Locket. And then for the 5th and 6th items, I would recommend another one of those previous CDR items that I mentioned, being either Redemption, Zeke's, or Knight's Vow. It all just depends on the game situation and which defensive stats that you need more in the situation, but at the end of the day, you're going to buy all 3 of these items. Next up, let's talk about when you should be picking Thresh and when you shouldn't be picking Thresh. Thresh struggles a lot into champions that can out-peel him and out-poke him. Champions who can out-peel Thresh prevent him from landing hooks, diving in, and making plays, thus making him somewhat useless. This includes champions like Lulu, Janna, and Sona. On the other hand, champions who can out-poke Thresh don't give him quite as much trouble because Thresh is still very capable of picking up kills as long as he's able to land hooks and all in them. But if the hooks are missing and you're just getting poked at the same time, it's going to be really difficult for Thresh because it is going to be too much for him to handle considering Thresh has no sustain. This includes champions such as Brand, Zyra, and Vel'Koz. Aside from the champions that can out-peel and out-poke Thresh though, any other champion should be good to pick Thresh into. And finally, the last thing that I'll mention before we get into the actual game aspect of Thresh is going to be his combos. The standard combo is going to be the QQE combo. The easiest combo to land without diving in too deep is going to be QE. The best combo to use at a short range is going to be E and then Q. The QWQE combo is something that can be used to engage and bring another ally with Thresh. The QRE combo is a standard short range combo that also generates a slow from the box by forcing them into it. The Flash QRE combo is used to engage from an increasingly long range. The W Flash EQR combo is a long range engage that also brings in an ally, but it is most commonly used to set up ganks. And finally, the Q Flash WQER combo is a combo that was made very popular by Bunny Fufu, and he nicknamed it the Bunny Hop. This is best used to bring in an ally from a very far distance. Now for the actual game aspect of Thresh, let's start off with the early game. One of the most important things to focus on in the early game, and more specifically the lane phase as Thresh, is going to be the focus on the level 2 power spike. The level 2 power spike is something that you should focus on with just about any single support champion, but on Thresh it is increasingly important because his level 2 power spike is really strong if you are able to achieve it, and if you are able to achieve it, then chances are you're going to be able to pick up a kill quite easily. Another thing that you want to make sure that you're doing during the lane phase is going to be stepping aside from the mini waves to control the bushes from time to time in order to threaten hooks. You don't want to do this too often though, because when you do step aside from the minion wave, you make yourself vulnerable from poke, but you do want to be doing this from time to time, stepping into the bush, controlling the vision, and making sure that you are constantly applying a threat, because when the enemy can't see you, they never know when a hook is going to be coming out, and you may be able to hit them with the element of surprise. But those are 2 things that you want to focus on if you're playing aggressive, but if you want to play a little bit more defensive, a couple things that you should also be focusing on includes using your E to deny enemy engages. For example, if the enemy has a Pike and they dash forward, you can use your Flay to knock them away. If the enemy team has a Leona and the Leona tries to use her E to engage, you can Flay them away. So that's something you can focus on if you're looking to play a little bit more passive. Another thing that you can focus on when trying to play passive is when the enemy team goes to engage, and instead of trying to counter engage or trying to peel off the enemy from your ADC, instead instead of fighting there with them, what you can do is instead run straight back to your tower and throw your lantern out. That'll allow your ADCs to just take the lantern and be able to bring themselves to safety. Now next up, I want to talk about roaming, but before I talk about roaming, I would just like to say that there are 2 videos that I've already uploaded on my channel that'll help you a lot when it comes to roaming. The first one is a roaming guide that'll help you with the best times to roam, and then I have another video that I put out about landing skill shots, and this is a video that'll help you quite a bit if you're looking to get better at Thresh. So both of those videos I would recommend watching, and those will both help you be a better roamer, but for now I'll try to make this as simple as I can in case you don't have the time to go watch those videos. For starters, when it comes to roaming as Thresh, in comparison to a lot of other support champions where the best approach is to come at the enemy from behind, you're going to want to come at them from the side. This is going to allow you to either line up your hook a lot easier or be able to get right next to them and flay them backwards to your team. At the same time, you can also cast your lantern back towards your mid laner to help them get closer to the fight. Approaching the enemy from this angle is going to give you the best chance of landing your hook, and more times than not, landing your hook is just about all that it takes to pick up a kill. And finally, the last aspect of Thresh that I want to talk about is going to be the late game. It is very important that when it comes to the late game as Thresh that you are able to identify your win condition, because Thresh is a very flexible champion and thus he has a lot of different things that his team may need from him. Thresh is a champion that can peel, he can focus on making picks, or he can sometimes be the main engage for his team. You're gonna have to figure out what your win condition is and what your team needs from you as Thresh. If you have a Zac or Sejuani on your team, then chances are you don't need to be the main engage because you already have main engage. If your team has absolutely no engage on your team, maybe you have something like a Graves jungle and then a Nasus top, you guys don't have engage. That's gonna be up to the Thresh to engage team fights. Or maybe your team is just really far behind and you can't team fight whatsoever, so it doesn't matter if you're the one engaging or not engaging. And instead what you guys need to do is just group up and try to make a pick somewhere and be able to take that advantage to a 4v5 and get back into the game that way. In situations like that, it's going to be up to Thresh to find picks with his hook and get kills that way. Like I said, Thresh is a very flexible champion, so it's going to be up to you to figure out what your team needs from you and what your win condition is. But whatever it is, just try to identify it and do whatever your team needs from you. Whatever you do though, no matter what it may be that your team needs from you, just make sure the one thing that you focus on is don't be overly aggressive and don't force engages by reactivating your Q. If you land a Q on an enemy, you don't always have to take it, especially if you're landing your Q on a tank or something like that in a team fight. Chances are if you land a Q on a tank and then you reactivate it to follow that into a team fight, you're going to die immediately and your team is going to be left fighting a 4v5. So if you're going to take one thing away from this video, it's just that you need to be very patient with your Q and don't reactivate it for no reason. Make sure that you're reactivating at the right times. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, well that is however going to complete this Thresh Challenger Champion guide. I put a lot of time, effort, and research into making this guide, so if you did find this to be helpful or if you learned something new, please consider dropping a like, commenting down below, or subscribing to help the channel grow. Once again, be sure to check out my social media using the links in the description if you haven't done so already, and that is also greatly appreciated. Anyways, I would just like to thank each and every one of you who did stick around to the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.